Hello and welcome to Business Insider with Mario Toneguzzi on YYC Business, brought to you today by MegaPixx Media. Joining me is Simon Raby, who is Director of Growth Compass at the Mount Royal University in Calgary. Thanks, Simon, for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Mario, for having me on the show.
Well, let's talk about some research that Growth Compass recently conducted. Tell me some of the key findings when it comes to growing and scaling your business.
Fantastic. Yeah, thank you so much. And, first of all, shout out to our sponsors, Alberta Innovates, who really supported us with this program of work. Obviously, the key innovation agency across this province, and also to co-authors and other students as well that have helped us with the process. And I'll mention them at the end of the call. In terms of what we were attempting to do, there are a range of what we call scale-up programs or growth programs that exist globally. These are programs that leaders attend, participate in to essentially develop not only their own leadership styles, but also the growth of their organization. And so we were really fascinated by, well, what is it that really attracts leaders to these sorts of programs? And having been attracted and motivated to want to join them, what is it in particular that these programs help them with? What is it that actually the impact that's created from these programs? So we studied a range of graduates of these programs from, not just in Canada, but also from the UK, from Scotland, from Ireland, and also the US. And so the questions that we were really keen to understand was what really motivated these leaders to attend? What actual knowledge did they mobilize? What was it that they took and they did something different with? And how did their leadership style change as well through that process? What ultimately changed within them as individual leaders? So that's what we are fascinated by. And this is all part of, intelligence really that's informing the future of accelerator programs across the province. You've probably heard of various RFPs and funding, significant dollars that's being put behind this space to really help Alberta small and medium companies scale and grow up. So that is where this report particularly focused.
So what were some of the key things you found?
Yeah, so when it comes to motivation, the leaders themselves ultimately wanted to define a different skill set. There's a recognition that running a small business is very different to scaling an organization. And so actually that was a fundamental change that they needed to work on is, well, what is different about scaling up? What is different about growing? And it's very much different to just running and operating a small business. They also wanted to learn from a diverse group of people. So when you look at these programs, they're coming to these programs wanting to build networks. And actually one of the biggest findings that came from this was the power of these small, informal problem-solving groups that the participants actually form themselves. And so what you find is actually a huge value happens alongside the typical kind of more formalized cohort, where these individuals are typically meeting down the pub. They're sharing everything that's going on in their business. They're being very open about that, building relationships. And as a consequence of that, they're accessing resources. They're accessing knowledge from other individuals of how they actually go and solve some of those problems. And you'll appreciate that ultimately, as a consequence of COVID and the pandemic, some of those have been challenged, like the ability to actually set up these informal groups has been challenged. So there are things to think about of, well, how do we bring that value through online learning? Because as a consequence, we've had to think about those things given where we are currently with the economy.
Yeah. What was there anything that surprised you?
Yeah, I mean, what surprised me, I guess, is really just the value that these business owners are getting. And one of the key terms that they used as to what they got from the program was confidence. So a lot of these leaders were saying, one of the biggest things that I got, it wasn't always about increased ROI as a consequence of the program. So our business has grown 20, 30%, and all businesses were doing that. They were growing 10, 20, 30, 100%, maybe even 1,000% as a consequence of going through a growth episode.
Yeah.
But it was about the confidence that these leaders got from the program. They were seeing other people within their cohort making the decisions. They were coming all with that ambition to want to grow the company. So they were in good company in terms of who they were working with. But they had confidence in decision making. And when you have that confidence, you're able to make decisions about investment. You're able to make decisions about how you choose to evolve your leadership style and make those changes, not just for you personally, but the changes you need to make in your business. So I think that was a big piece of actually building that confidence through programs like this.
Let me ask you, when you look at accelerator programs or initiatives, a number of different things that, governments are involved, a lot of organizations involved, how important, especially here for Alberta, how important are all those in the overall scheme of things for the economy?
Massively important. I mean, the ecosystem and the support from an ecosystem is incredibly important for organizations. It's a capacity building component. It enables companies to access resources that they otherwise wouldn't be able to access. And what you need a diverse range of support. So it's not about saying that there's one size that fits all. It's not homogenous. An ecosystem isn't homogenous. People talk about a rainforest as being akin to an ecosystem. And when you look at a rainforest, it's not just one type of tree. You look at the palm oil trees now that are being put in certain parts of the world, they actually drive out diversity and actually kill off ecosystems. So we have to think about it from a diverse perspective. And therefore, there have to be a range of supports within the ecosystem to be able to do that. So acceleration is part of the story. It's not the whole story, but it's a really important part of it, of locating those businesses that have that ambition for scale, and then working with them to help them achieve that.
Okay, tell me, Simon, a little bit about Growth Compass, what that is and what you do there.
Yeah, so it's a strategic initiative of one of the institutes at Mount Royal, the Institute for Innovation and Entrepreneurship. And really where it's focused is on delivering and developing insights on how businesses achieve growth and scale. So what keeps us up at night is that only about, all companies achieve one particular growth episode, but only about 15% of organizations go on to achieve another growth episode. And growth episodes aren't sustainable. They last for about 3 to 6 years. And so actually a lot of our work is about how do you help companies that are already out there wanting to scale, but they actually don't know how to move beyond that growth ceiling that they've actually hit. And so a lot of our work hits that area. In terms of what we do, we focus one vertical on a community and we focus another vertical on a lab. The community is all about the exchange of knowledge. So this point of view that we've published is an example where we're conducting research, communicating with industry and policy around this, and obviously speaking to business owners themselves. Another component, which is the lab, is very much focused on designing, developing, and delivering, as well as looking at the impact of programs. So when we look at the accelerator program as an example, we've run programs like the Growth Catalyst. That was something that we developed ourselves at Mount Royal. We've also have an innovation program for those organizations looking to develop new products and services as a catalyst for future growth. So anything that really is a route to future growth is something that we can then design into some form of programmatic intervention and look at how we then scale that up ourselves. So we're involved into all that sort of stuff, but it's all evidence-based work, and it's what keeps us getting up very early in the morning.
Okay, super. Simon, anything you wanted to add before we sign off?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest pieces that you see through programs of this nature is just the importance of this transition that leaders need to make from these technical functional specialists, these individuals who are passionate about their product or service, to these more strategic leaders. We use this analogy of the move and shift from working in the business to working on the business. And a lot of that involves, actually the leader giving themselves the permission to do that, but also finding ways to get structure in place underneath them, build a team, build a committed and ambitious team to take the business forward. So I think those are the sorts of challenges that programs will need to work with in the future. We know business owners are working with those challenges every day. And fundamentally, I'd just like to thank, the support clearly of Mount Royal, but also of Alberta Innovates for sponsoring this particular program of research. My co-authors, Jo Louise Huck and Carlos Ferrer-Gibb, and NRU students who actually contributed through directed readings as well to support the work. So Tiana Going, Logan Grasby, and Ian Lees. So, thank you for everybody for their support. And we hope that people find it informative and we have something to share.
All right, super. Thanks very much, Simon, for joining us.
Thank you very much, Mario. Great to be on the show.
All right, that was Simon Raby, who is Director of Growth Compass at Mount Royal University in Calgary. This has been Business Insider with Mario Toneguzzi on YYC Business, brought to you by MegaPixx Media. Thanks for joining us today.